They say a series hasn't started until a team wins a game on the road. Well, with Game 3 in Dallas and Porzingis out with an injury, the stars were perfectly aligned for the Mavs to defend their home court. And they came out looking to do exactly that. Kyrie opened the game strong, blowing right by Holiday on a drive with nobody to help at the rim, and Luka did the same. Of course, the Celtics are still switching every action, so he can hunt for the matchup he wants to isolate as he gets to that signature step back three. When Holiday's on him, he's got a size advantage, so instead of falling back on the jump shot, he's gonna force his way to the paint for a big body finish. This next one starts with a baseline out of bounds play. They set up some decoy screening action in the corner to free up the paint, and Kyrie goes to a jump hook with the offhand. So the start of this game was basically these two just taking turns cooking. Luka gets the Tatum switch, everybody stays home, so he's able to easily get into the lane for two. Then Kyrie gets Horford, and same thing, an easy drive with no help as he shows off his touch as a finisher. And this really felt like the best stretch of basketball this duo has played in the series, spamming clear out isolations as these elite creators go to work and getting whatever they want inside the arc. As for the other side of the ball, the Celtics are always going to stick to their game plan. That of course means get into the defense, move the ball around, and hunt for the best possible shot. The Mavs have had no answer for dribble penetration, and against 5-out spacing, they're forced to give up a lot of quality threes. Al Horford hits this one from the corner, but interestingly enough, they haven't had one of those unconscious shooting nights yet, which again looked to be the case in this one as they missed a few early. Most of these are practice jumpers, collapsing the defense and finding the open man, and like they say, it's a make or miss league. But I do think there were a few times where they let the defense off the hook. Like here, Jalen gets the cross match he wants with a full shot clock and pulls up in semi-transition. Their offense is always at its best when they're generating paint touches, and one way they like to do that is by using Tatum as a screener to force mismatches. This switch isn't executed in time, so he's got a lane to attack in the short roll. That wasn't the story of these first few minutes though. As you can see right here, the Mavs had 16 points in the paint to the Celtics 4, and when Jalen gets matched up with Kyrie and tries to force the issue, he gets called for a traveling violation. Right about now is when Kristaps would typically check in, but with his injury, it's instead Xavier Tillman. Lively does an incredible job of slipping the screen to counter a soft switch, and all of a sudden it seems a bit easier to score at the rim. With this being Tillman's first time in the series, that meant a new matchup for Luka and Kyrie to attack, and this pull-up jumper right here actually marked his first made three of the finals. With that said, the reason they went to Tillman and not Cornet is because they're comfortable with him defending in space like this, so in many ways he fills right in for Al Horford. Well, on defense that is. Because he isn't much of a shooting threat, the Mavs can do what they do best on defense, and that's shrink the floor. They immediately go to a zone with the idea of limiting that dribble penetration, and guess whose pull-up jumper finally decides to show up? When Jalen gets the ball, you can see how much emphasis they're placing on not giving up drives. Hardy is sitting in a gap, Lively's under the basket with Tillman, and Luka's sagging off with a few feet of space. Jalen again settles for the three and it doesn't drop. A play later, it's pretty much the exact same thing. Lively's pre-rotated to protect the paint, leaving Tillman on an island, while Jalen comes off a screen from White. Kyrie's expecting a switch, but when it doesn't happen, he jumps out to contest and sends him to the line. About a minute later, it looks like he might try another one in early offense, only to move it over to Tatum, who steps into a three of his own, with some assistance from the rim. That's 2 threes, and you definitely don't want him heating up, so next time he touches the ball, it's a real hard closeout, which he attacks on a drive as he draws a foul down low. This next play is just a complete breakdown. Jalen's getting ready to hunt for the Luka switch when Hauser starts running baseline, and nobody pays attention. From there, Kleba's forced to commit to the shot, and with a flyby, the sharpshooter's got all the time in the world. Actually, I want to focus on Hauser. When he checked into the game, the Mavs made an effort to pick on him defensively, and not only did he hold up, he played a key part in multiple stops. On this one, he's matched up with Kyrie, slides his feet to shut off a drive, sticks with some changes of direction, and gets a hand up to make it a tough long 2. A play later, it's Luka who he has to defend, and notice how Jalen has sunk way over from the wing to protect the nail. Not only does he recover to his man, he blocks the 3. That's not to say Hauser checked in and started playing like Defensive Player of the Year Kawhi, just that he wasn't an obvious weak link. Even when Luka's able to create a shot he likes, it's not at all an easy opportunity. And really, that applies to most of the isolations in this series. You know Luka's gonna make some tough shots, and he's gonna pull off moves like this, but that's way better than giving up a layup. Not just that, he finds himself on the ground, which means the Celtics can push the pace with numbers, as who else but Sam Hauser trails the play for a triple. The final possession is basically deja vu. Luka isolates from the right wing, steps back for a tough 3, falls to the court, and nobody else runs to get back on defense after White grabs the board, so Tatum's all alone on the other end for easy points. A quick 5-point swing that brings the deficit down to 1. To start the second, it was Peyton Pritchard who pretty much did what Hauser was doing defensively. The Mavs view him as a weak link to pick on, and he's playing some truly impressive defense against world-class shot creators. Of course, we're talking about all-time bucket getters, so even when Pritchard does a good job, sometimes the offense is a little bit better, but sometimes it isn't. Like here, when Luka fails to get the step on Horford and tries to throw a lob that goes straight off the rim. Unfortunately, that was the story for Luka in this quarter. As I said, the shot diet is really tough, and at times that can lead to cold stretches, shooting just 2 of 7 in the second. But it wasn't all self-inflicted. Credit to the Celtics defense. Luka gets the Tillman switch and beats him off the dribble, only for the big man to recover with a block from behind. I can't say enough good things about his 11 minutes of play. Just look at him moving his feet against Kyrie. You can't ask for better defense from your backup big. On offense, they went cold themselves though. They shot just 4 of 14 from 3 in the second, many of which were once again quality looks. And when they tried to force the issue inside, well, they couldn't get that going either, so nearly 6 minutes in, the two teams had only scored a combined 7 points. That's when Kyrie decided to take over, and like Jaylen Brown said after the game, we were about to witness a vintage performance. He's still looking to go one-on-one with Pritchard, and when he gets the step on a drive, he counters help with this hanging drop-off pass to Gafford down low. Next time it's going to be Hauser who he isolates. Notice how the Celtics have shrunk the floor with Holiday sitting in a driving lane, and Kyrie counters by creating separation with a sidestep and knocking down a triple. There isn't a defender who's immune to that sidestep. Holiday's all over him on this one, and that's just a master of his craft going to work. Once Kyrie got going, Luka decided that he'd add fuel to the fire, and the Mavs offense really started to roll like in the start of the game. There's just one problem, they couldn't pull away because the Celtics were doing the same. We know that Dallas is going to soft switch all screens, and Tatum uses that space to pull up for another 3. The Mavs also decided to give Tim Hardaway Jr. some minutes, which meant another mismatch for the wings to attack. But remember, with Tillman on the floor, Gafford can comfortably rotate to the paint. That's just high-level slashing from Tatum. In addition to the weaker perimeter players, Boston's been hunting for the big in these situations. And on this one, Luka's just completely asleep, so Tatum quickly moves it to Hauser, who's still feeling it from outside. I know I said they went cold in this quarter, but it felt like they hit the timely ones. Like in transition, Horford knocks one down from the corner to tie it up at 48. Then it's PJ Washington who immediately responds on the other end, taking a page out of Luka's book with the look-away pass to free up Lively at the rim. But a play later, he tries to attack the paint again, this time without as much success, and the Celtics use that turnover to start some transition offense as Tatum gets an easy lay to tie the game at 50. Then just like at the end of the first, Luka decides he's going to try some more step-back shooting, but instead of leading into offense for Boston, PJ's able to grab the offensive rebound before attacking an open lane and drawing a foul. So by the time all of this madness is over, the Mavs end up with a 1-point lead heading into the break. To start the third, everything stayed about the same for Dallas. Like clockwork, Luka gets a switch, plays one-on-one, and works his way to a quality shot. And Kyrie follows suit, although when his layup misses, Gafford's right there on the follow. At one point, they even took some inspiration from Boston, with everyone driving and kicking to attack the rotating defense, and with a packed paint, Kyrie decides to stop short for a floater. However, I'm not sure if the Celtics turned up the game sliders or something, but they just simply stopped missing shots. I talked about how they've consistently gotten quality looks. Well, that's never been more prominent. Here's a great example of that driving and kicking until they get a layup, and next time down they're going to use Tatum as a screener to get the switch onto Kyrie. He seals position in the middle, Gafford has to worry about a shooter, and that leads to easy points. Jalen stopped settling, so now when he's got the Kyrie matchup, he's attacking with aggression as he gets to a floater. Then they're going to go back to using Tatum as a screener. Remember how Tatum's pull-up jumper countered a soft switch earlier? Well, Holiday can do that as well. Everyone was involved, and nobody was missing. When Jalen draws two, it's Tatum who gets a quality look from three. When Tatum sets up for an isolation and the defense loads up, it's Jalen who frees up on a cut. And as I mentioned earlier, with Hardaway on the floor, that's a third mismatch for them to attack. So the defense shifts towards Tatum in the post, and from there, all they have to do is move the ball around the perimeter until it finds Jalen in the corner for a three. Speaking of Hardaway, when he tries to attack the rim in transition, he gets denied by White, to which the Celtics immediately start some fast break offense of their own. Holiday finds a streaking Tatum on his way to a dunk that probably should have resulted in a three-point play. The whole idea of getting Tim on the floor in the first place was to get more outside shooting, and that completely backfired. As a team, they attempted 2 threes in the third. The effect of that is only magnified by the fact that Kyrie started to miss some of the shots he was hitting in the first half, and those are the two variables that have really capped this offense. Thankfully, they still had Luka's creation to fall back on as he takes Tillman one-on-one for a tough finish. Well, not quite, because as I keep going back to, Tillman's more than capable of handling these situations, blocking Luka's next attempt. I also keep going back to how Tillman on the floor makes their 5-out less effective, so when Jalen drives, his man is comfortable leaving him open, to which he responds by knocking down a corner three. And while we're on the topic of unlikely makes, Derek White did this just a couple minutes later, which takes us to the end of the quarter and back to what the Celtics have been doing every game. Put Luka in action to hunt for a switch, but he defends the wrong side of the screen, so Jalen has a red carpet to the basket where he takes off for a big time slam. They win the quarter by 16 points and now lead by 15 with 12 minutes to go, and their run didn't stop there. Tatum gets the big on a switch, drives and kicks it to the corner, while Kyrie has absolutely zero idea where the ball went. That's an easy triple for Jalen. Then White does the exact same thing just a moment later, giving the Celtics a 21-point lead. With that said, they sort of started to collapse a little bit, and it was a result of self-inflicted wounds. What I mean by that is they completely went away from what's been working. Tatum has Luka on him, the matchup they've been exploiting for 11 quarters now, and the Celtics instead have Pritchard trying to create space against PJ Washington. Then Tatum gets Kyrie on him, and they do attack it, but instead of getting downhill, he settles for an awkward mid-range jumper. Next time down, Jalen has Luka, but again they decide to go at Washington. Tatum doesn't get a clean driving lane, and the result is a turnover. When they go back to what works, Luka on one of the star wings in the middle of the floor, that's when they immediately score their first field goal in over 3 minutes. But the key is to put pressure on the paint, and Luka continues to sag off of Jalen, who plays right into the defense's hands with these pull-up threes. As for the Mavs offense, this was their weirdest and most unlikely run of the series, because for the first time Kyrie was cold, Luka was cold, but it was all of the other guys who showed up to push the offense forward. When Luka tries a jumper and leaves it short, Lively's right there for a putback. All series long, the Celtics have been bringing help from up top and conceding above the break threes. Finally, Josh Green makes them pay for leaving him open. Really, I want to give a lot of credit to PJ though, as his 3 3-pointers in this game turned out to be absolutely crucial. and after Holiday fouls Kyrie on a 3-point attempt of his own, he's sent to the line for a chance to make it a 1-possession game. So after allowing a 20-2 run with a chance to put the game out of reach, you'd think they go back to what worked, right? Well, for some reason their next possession again starts with Kyrie on Tatum, yet it's Jalen who's attacking Washington, being forced into a tough spot and turning the ball over. After perfect execution for pretty much the entire series, it was like they forgot the game plan. 17 seconds on the clock, Tatum in an open corner with Kyrie, and Holiday steps into an off-the-dribble 3 before setting up any offense. Like I said though, when they do go to the mismatch, good things happen. Jalen takes Luka in the post and forces him into committing his 5th foul, so they got back to attacking Luka relentlessly, which meant they got back to creating high quality shots. Horford won't make them all, but this is an attempt you want every single time. And by attacking Luka, this was eventually bound to happen, picking up his 6th and final foul, meaning that they'd have to play the last 4 minutes without him. This is Kyrie's time to shine, build that legacy, and right away he gets to his spot near the elbow for a pull-up J. The only problem is that the replacement for Luka after fouling out was Hardaway Jr., so Boston sets up their offense in a way that forces him to be the rim protector, and they end up with a free 2 points at the cup. There's just nowhere on the floor to hide Hardaway. Even when he's matched up with Holiday, that's an easy blow-by, which puts the defense in rotation and you're right back to giving up quality threes off of kickout passes. And with Hardaway, they also had 2 smaller guards on the floor, so when Tatum sets up in the mid-post, it basically looks like he's Shaq down there. The Mavs wouldn't go down without a fight though. Kyrie drives and misses a layup, which leads to a pretty chaotic possession that ultimately ends up in the hands of Lively for a dunk. When Kyrie sets up high pick and roll, Horford jumps out expecting a switch, but the rest of the defense isn't on the same page. Holiday sort of hangs out in no man's land as the low man Tatum chooses not to drop, and it's another easy dunk. That makes it a 2-point game with just a minute to go. Jalen gets the switch onto Hardaway, and from there he'll attack one-on-one. His 24-point second half is making a pretty strong claim for the finals MVP. Down 4, 30 seconds left, with shades of 2016, Kyrie's gonna take it to that right wing for a tough 3, but this time he's unable to knock it down, and that essentially seals the game. From there, they just have to close it out at the line and walk out of Dallas with the ever-imposing 3-0 lead. Even with Kyrie and Luka combining for 62 points, Kristaps not playing a single minute, and the Celtics once again shooting below their typical percentage from 3, it still wasn't enough to win a game on their home court, and really that shows us just how dominant this team truly is. The Mavs are thoroughly overmatched in the finals. The Celtics are now 15-2 in the playoffs, and have a chance to close out Game 4, having only lost 20 total games since the season started in October. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought of this game. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.